Newton came up with the theory of calculus in quarantine.
But out of limitations comes creativity.
Dr. Seuss wrote using no more than 50 different words.
Not in a house, not with a mouse.
Shakespeare wrote King Lear in quarantine.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Comfort is the enemy of progress. I love that.
It's a nice myth to think of creativity as an endless open field of possibilities, but the reality is when people face such a wonderful open field, they might become paralyzed. Constraints are the anchors of creativity.
The growth of the human brain is by growing branches. By growing branches you can make more connections, and it's by having connections that you can say, aha. Now there's an interesting issue over whether constraints are actually beneficial or problematic for creativity, and I think the answer to both is yes. In both cases happens to be the case.
There is still disagreement, at least in psychology, about what creativity really is.
It's people making things that haven't existed before.
Everyday elements, but putting them together in a way not that is just novel, but that actually has a meaning for people, that actually changes the way they see the world.
Most people tend to think that creativity is something that happens to people who have a particular talent. This is a misconception.
There is no such thing as a single gene for creativity.
We can distinguish between two different types of constraints, the intentional constraint and the unintentional constraints.
These external forces of limitation, and they can be political, socio-economic. Being a biracial, black female artist coming from a working class background could be seen as a limitation within the art world, which historically has been a very sort of patriarchal, white middle class space.
Resilience comes when you have problems and challenges, and that in turn gives you ideas.
An artist who I very much admire called Faith Ringgold wanted to make these huge canvases in the same way that a lot of men were making huge modernist works of art, but she didn't actually have the space at home to do that. And so she started to make these huge quilts, roll it up and take it to various galleries. She's a great example of how an artist can flourish under limitation.
Avoid familiarity and embrace novelty, be it using different materials or a different method or a different process. If you always write poetry, try prose.
Schedule a particular time when you are going to do nothing else but engage in the creative task. And that's one of the ways in which people with very little time can write books, by telling everybody in your family that that's what you're going to be doing. You're actually protecting a space for yourself for something creative to happen.
Start drawing and give yourself 5 minutes. Do another drawing. Give yourself 10 seconds to do the drawing. When we are given less time to do something, usually the most important information comes across.
If you're playing in a band and you're getting really stuck, swap instruments. That can create new ideas in your songs as well.
Or paint a red dot or a blue line in the upper left corner of your blank canvas, and then challenge yourself to incorporate those constraints into the composition. And even though you may not end up using those particular constraints in the final product, they can be beneficial for creativity as long as you play around with them willingly. What might happen is that the mere experience with playing around with different limitations stretches your imagination and improves creativity.